Welcome to another episode of the Life Adventurous podcast. I'm Jeni Holly, your host, and this is the place if you are a spiritual entrepreneur or a conscious leader who has been on a journey of self-discovery and growth, especially within the spiritual realm. Maybe you like the Akashic Records, maybe you've never heard of them, and your soul, your intuition, guidance, divine guidance has brought you here to be a part of this journey. And this is also the place where I enjoy exploring different edges of spirituality. And in this specific little, mini series in the podcast, I am sharing some really important pieces of my story that I am ready to share in a more public way. And these things that I'm going to talk about today as it relates to money and my money story have been my journey and my experience. And these have also been things that at different times I've held a lot of shame around, or I've felt wrong for thinking or feeling certain ways. And maybe you think or feel these ways too. The other thing that I'm going to share with you before I dive in is that my goal for sharing this is multifaceted. One of the reasons is I want to document where I'm at right now in the journey and the process, because a lot of times on the other side of things, we can tend to forget what was happening like in it when we were in it. And I also am coming to understand and realize, at least as it relates to me and my personal journey and my experience, is that sharing this story and sharing these pieces publicly to where anybody could listen, whether they tell me or not, those friends and family and coworkers where in the past, I maybe would not have wanted them to hear these things. And, there's still a little part of me that doesn't really want them to hear these things because they feel very vulnerable. And that's okay. I also know that by sharing this, I may be helping you as well to transform or possibly have a different perspective on the way that you view things about money, whether it be things that you have done or not done or you're thinking about doing, or really to help maybe give you more peace about decisions that you have made already. And maybe you were struggling with feeling ways because nobody really talks about these things. Nobody shares these things. And especially in the entrepreneurial space, I don't hear a lot about this. At least it hasn't been on my awareness. Maybe there are people out there who speak about this, but it hasn't been a part of my journey to hear people talk about this side of things so rawly. So yeah, I want to share, and I already know because I shared a bit more of this with the people in my intimate group with the 7 weeks of magic journey. We just finished up with a bonus call today, and I was sharing a bit more about my money story. And one of the girls in there, she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you shared that because I've done the same thing too, and I was kind of feeling a ways about it." So hearing these things may help you to let go of what things have meant for you, or maybe how you perceive others to think it to mean. Now, I also know, and I have a very, I understand that some of the things I'm going to share today are maybe things that are super simple to you or that you think no big deal of, okay? Like you're like, oh, so what? So what you had that? I've had that. Everybody's had that. But from my perspective, whew, it was not something. Okay, so let's get in. I'm going to start by sharing a bit of my story, so that way for any of you arriving to this podcast for the very first time, or maybe this YouTube, because I'm also recording this on video, is that for you to hear a bit of this to give you perspective. So I have had a very, from my opinion, a very typical, very nice upbringing. I think my parents probably struggled with money a little bit because they had me when they were 20 years old and they were working and putting things together, but I never was super aware or felt the impact as I've heard other friends and people share that, oh yeah, our electric was cut off, or oh yeah, we didn't have any money to pay this or pay that, or we could hardly, mom was always working 3 jobs to put food on the table, things like that. That was not part of my experience. I will say that other things were passed down from money mindset, especially beliefs and beliefs about lack around money and scarcity around money and different things like that, were definitely a part of my experience growing up. And for me, I was the firstborn child and an overachiever and really wanted to do good all times. I wanted to be seen in a good light. And I did do that. I achieved a lot, and I, got a full ride to college, and I got a 6-figure job. Well, I got a sales job out of college that quickly became a 6-figure job within, I want to say, 5 years out of college. I would think out of college I was making with commissions in my sales job, I was probably making $60K. I had a car plan. So I definitely, and then from there, it went up. It went up, and I quickly got into a 6-figure position. I bought a house really young. So I had a lot of success, and I didn't understand at the time when others would talk about different money things. I didn't understand, because I'm like, well, just make it happen. Just make it happen. Go do it, And I also had the identity that I would never be that person who would get into debt or make, I'm going to put air quotes on this, bad financial decisions. I would never be that person who would have credit card debt, would overspend my means, or would do all these things you're not supposed to do, whatever that means. That was a really big part of my identity. So fast forward, when I left my sales career, and it felt like such the right decision to leave my sales career. I left my 6-figure sales career, and actually I had manifested the most ideal role ever. It was my dream job. Even with that, it was okay, so I was in the dental industry, and there was a company that had the name whale in it. And I was so excited because whales are one of my favorite animals. And while I was talking to them, they were super entrepreneurial, and I wanted to be in a space where I could kind of grow and show off my entrepreneurial skills. And I was, excited for the opportunity of running a division. And I was, and then as I was talking through the details of this role, I would see whales all over. I was at Trader Joe's, and there was a whale card when I checked out, and kept pulling whale cards from my Oracle deck, and the signs kept coming up, and I was like, woohoo! And it was a significant increase in my salary. It was it. And I found out pretty quickly that was not it, and not because the company was wrong. There was nothing wrong with the company. It was me. I realized that I really didn't want a role like that, and it was time for me to bet on me, for me to believe in myself. So I stayed maybe 6 months, and I gave my notice, which is very atypical from what I had done, because I would stay and commit and whatever. So I gave my notice, and I left. And this was right before March of 2020, when the pandemic had started. And I felt good. I still felt good about my decision. I actually ended up taking a local part-time role, helping a local theater bar type of place grow their list, and they were in construction. So I was excited that I was using my sales skills, and it was super easy in some ways and not easy in others. And I was doing that, but really my heart wasn't in it. That was more for the money, to be a bridge between things. And so once we parted ways with that, it's just me, myself, and I. I'm hearing that song. It's just me, myself, and I. Na, 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 na. So the journey began. For the longest part of my entrepreneurial career, I had been really trying so hard to be successful as a speaker, author, coach. I had different coaching programs, and me and my husband poured our hearts and souls into different things that we launched, and we would launch it, and it'd be crickets, or we would launch and we would have a handful of people. We were being like, I'm being a little dramatic here because this has nothing to do with any of the coaches that we hired, but looking back, this is a bit what it felt like. It's like we were being kind of like tossed around from coach to coach, like, oh, do this, and then we'd go do it. No, go do that, and then we go do it. And really, it's because we weren't super clear on what we wanted to do, or we were looking for others to show us, especially me, to show me the way of the money. How can I make it work? How can I finally do this? And it'll always be the same. You're so talented, you're so great, just go do this and go do that and price it this way and price it that way. So after a lot of frustration and, missed efforts, and especially with the identity piece in, not making the money I was making before and not having the success that I thought I should have had in the time period, in a faster time period than I did, is like, I was mad that I wasn't making six figures pretty quickly because I thought it would be a no-brainer. I thought I would just hop into this entrepreneurial world and 6 figures already in, let's go. And so that dug in a lot into my self-worth. Now the money stuff, deeper part of the money stuff. As part of the journey, we left on this nomad adventure. So we left the securities of a home and took the journey of a lifetime. And we're still traveling around. And as we were going along, the money coming in was way less than the money going out. And that, like, I think I cashed out 3 different 401ks to help offset the costs of both business and personal expenses. And each time I do it, I'd be like, okay, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And then each time it didn't happen, I would just feel like, okay, when's it gonna happen? And I'd be super nervous about money, and I'd be stressed out about money. A lot of times I would jump ahead and be like, okay, the money's not coming in, so what do I need to do? Like, what kind of programs do I need to launch? Or how do I get clients? How do I get clients? How do I get clients? I'd be like really hardcore about it. And I'd also be super stressed out about money. I would jump way ahead into the future. I would be like, okay, so I know we've got some money in the bank account, but it's stuff that I'm not super comfortable with. Like, coming from that past experience, I had like a certain threshold where I felt comfortable. If I had, X amount of dollars in the bank account, that made me feel comfortable. And so as I saw that number going down and down and down, and my savings going down and down and down, and the 401ks I cashed out going down and down and down, started looking for different solutions. And I really didn't want to get a job because I wanted to trust in myself. And so as I'm going through this, like, I am stressed about money all of the time. I'm nervous about spending $10 to go out to eat or $20 to go out to eat. I'm nervous about that. I'm nervous about spending anything. Like, every time my husband would ask, like, oh, let's buy this, I'd be like, why? Why are we gonna buy it? We can't buy it, we can't buy it. And I would be so tight and so frustrated. And so we had the cash flow working for a bit, and then I was like, okay, how do we make this work? And I started looking into 0% credit cards. And I had good credit. I think at the time my credit was, 780 or something, 750. I don't know. Whatever it was high. It was really good. And because I had really good paying jobs before, like, I was able to get some high credit limit. So I got 0% credit card for my business, got 0% credit card for personal, and we were making that work. It was allowing us to stretch the cash flow a little bit further. So it's like we didn't have all the cash to pay for all of our expenses, but that like bought us a little more time, and then we could just pay off some on there, and it felt good. It felt safe, right? It felt safer. And I kept thinking, oh yeah, it's gonna work, it's gonna work, it's gonna work. Time passed, still didn't work. I still wasn't making the money that I felt like we should be making. So I would spin out in a whole nother, and spin out again, like wondering when it was coming, have a ton of fear, jump into the future and be like, oh my God, how are we going to pay the bills in December? How are we going to even do this? So much stress, so much stress. I couldn't even look at any of it because it stressed me out. And really what it came down to as well was it really impacted me from an identity standpoint, like I shared before, because now I was that person who overspent more than they made. I was that person who was starting to carry credit card debt. I was that person who was doing these things I never thought I would do. And I didn't really know how to handle that because I feel like in the entrepreneurial world, there's two aspects to this from my perspective, is that we're a lot of times asked to show up and live as if we have things, right? Like fake it till you make it. I feel like there is a time and place for these things, and it's important for us to be super mindful about how we are using these strategies or how we are using these tools to help us step forward, because I get it. Okay, so from a business standpoint, you know, you don't want to be out there with clients and be like, oh, I don't have any money, like we're broke, or we're hardly making this work, but do you want to come into my program? Like, of course, like you don't really want to do that. And at the same time, it's like what's more important is really aligning to the confidence, and I feel like that's what's behind the act as if, or the fake it till you make it, is more of an embodied confidence that it will work out. An embodied confidence that your offers and your solutions are so helpful and so powerful, and it's really making offers from that space. And I think a lot of people, when they're in the space of like, oh yeah, I got a big business, I'm all good, yet every day they're scared shitless about how it's even going to work out. They're stressed out, they're fearful, and then everything else energetically is tied into the scarcity and the lack and the like, really need clients, I really need clients, I really need clients, like the underlying energy of their business. And so it then becomes more of this needy energy. And when people would talk about that before, I would be like, well, I'm not needy because I believe in my stuff. But if every day you're like stressed out over money and you're wondering when it's going to happen, like when am I going to make that money? When is it going to happen for me? Like, why do I not have enough? How's this going to work? Oh my God, I'm stressed out. What if we can't, like, what if the credit on the 0% card runs out? What if we can't pay that down? What if then I got to pay interest? Oh my God, I never thought I'd be a person who paid interest. So it's like, what if I had to pay interest? Oh my God, what if? And I was consistently in that loop of what if and fear and scarcity and lack. Meanwhile, acting like I wasn't and that I'm this badass person, which I am, but for the sake of conversation, right? It's like, so it's interesting because I'm gonna pause and side note this for a second, because what I'm noticing right now is I was so nervous about recording this and sharing this story because I was so scared to share these things. And I feel really comfortable and calm. And there's something really powerful in this process of allowing, this process of letting go, this process of trusting and surrendering. And the thing is, and this could be a whole nother episode, and this is something that is taught in depth in 7 Weeks of Magic with private clients, is like, you know, when we try to let go, when we try to be in the place of surrender and allowing and receiving, when we try that, a lot of times it's not working, right? We're like, why can't I just let go? Why can't I just let go? Like, it's driving me nuts. There's a cycle that the record keepers share, and I think I shared about this in my last episode of, you know, when things are part of your identity and then you begin to become aware and you just hold space for them, and then you start to detach from the meanings of what things mean. And then you accept and be like, well, it's okay. It is what it is, and then it lets go, right? I believe that me deciding, you know what, I'm going to share this story, and me letting go of what it meant or would mean or what people would think if they heard it. I have such a sense of peace right now in sharing this message because I thought this was going to be so much harder. And it still is a little challenging in some ways because it's like, well, how can I share this in the most impactful way that helps you, helps to support you and let you know that you're not alone and help you to get a little closer to the faith and the trust. All right, back in. Money. Okay, so what also was happening leading up to my work in the Akashic Records especially is like really wondering when and if it was all going to happen and if I would need to get a job and how we were going to make all this work, because what had then happened was the credit cards that were 0% that I thought for sure we would pay off in a year were now like full and we didn't have the cash to pay it off. And I thought for sure that, I don't know, I just thought for sure that we would not be in that situation. And I was so nervous about interest hitting on those cards, so nervous. And I felt shame and I felt not enough. And I felt wondering if and when it was all going to work out. Doubting, questioning, wanting to launch something, wanting to put something out there, right? Like, all of that, right? And then we were charged interest. And I had to face all of that, all of like the what is it called? Like the feelings and the nerves and like how that felt in my body. Like I had to face those sensations head on because it really activated a lot in me. Like it crushed me to see that there was interest charges now, because once again, I was not somebody who paid interest. I was not somebody who was in a position that would happen. And I still have a hard time seeing those interest charges on credit cards because I just think that they're a waste of money. The thing for me that helps me with everything is that I know that everything will be provided because I've really come into a place of alignment much more, especially doing the work with the Akashic Records. I also know that I have continuously been doing the work, and I put that in quotes because I feel like a lot of people talk about it and it's like, well, what does do the work mean? Do the work means showing up and practicing awareness, practicing noticing, practicing holding space for yourself when these nerves and these anxieties and these mental things come up. Doing the work is allowing yourself to feel the feelings in the body when you see that there's interest charge on the account, like in my experience, and feeling that and then holding space for it and being like, what is this? Is this true? Is it true that this means something? Is it true that this, ruins things for me? Is it true that this then leads to whatever it is I was afraid of? Like, is all that true? And I began to realize that I was spending way too much time focusing on the fear of what might happen and not spending enough time anchoring into the trust and belief and celebrating all of the ways that I was being supported. Friends, family, current clients, and everything like that. This still comes up and this still happens for me to where I like even finishing up a group program, I'm like, okay, this is what happened recently. I was like, all right, well, where's the money coming from next? Where's the money coming from next? Where's the clients? Where's the clients? And I had to stop myself and be like, that's not even the right question. That question is not the right one, because I have proof and I have experience where it has been working out, and trusting myself has led me into these really empowering situations. And how can I be even more open to receiving creativity, suggestions, and guidance on what the next steps could be? And what if it were okay that I had a moment of silence or nothingness where no income was coming in? What if that were okay? What if that could be okay where there is a period where that is not happening? Does it mean anything? And I chose to not make it mean anything. And every time I do these things and I shed these and I let go another piece and I shed another layer and I hold space for it, my mind is blown. My mind is blown by the people who reach out, people I didn't even know were watching or connecting or even listening, being like, hey, I saw your email. I'm interested. Hey, I saw you on TikTok. I'm interested. Hey, I saw you on YouTube. I'm interested. And it's such an amazing thing, because I know that it's all going to work out. Yes, would I love to have that debt that had been accumulated to just be all taken away with the swipe? Whoop, it's all gone. Yes, I would love that, and I'm sure you would too. The thing is that I'm choosing to hold on to the possibility that that could happen. And at the same time, knowing that at the rate that things are happening, it's okay too. I just realized when I was talking about people finding me on YouTube or podcasts or TikTok or wherever they find me, I just realized one of my other fears about sharing this story. The fear that one of you who's just meeting me now, who's just coming to this, then thinks differently of me and going, oh, well, if she's got all these things going on, is she this and that and the third? Like, that is a fear that I've had in sharing this story, because I feel like we're taught in the entrepreneur world to make sure that we stand in this confidence and we stand in this space and, act as if, I already talked about this, right? Act as if we are a six-figure business earner or whatever the number is or whatever the amount is that, has you feeling that way, and giving off that impression that you know what you're doing and you're confident and all of that. I will tell you now that I've said that and I'm sharing it, here's what's happening in my mind as I'm reacting to this fear, right? As I'm sitting here and I'm like, you know what? I know that I'm sharing this from a place in my heart to share and help transform you and anybody else who you may share this with, right? Like, I know that this is coming from a good place. It feels very aligned. It feels like the right thing to do. I'm leaning into my edges. I'm showing up. I'm doing the things that are slightly uncomfortable yet expanding me at the same time. That if for some reason this turns you off and you feel that, oh, well, she doesn't have her shit together, so I can't work with her, then it's possible that we're either not meant to work together, or maybe this has just been a miss for you, a miss in a message, and that's okay. Because I do know what I'm doing, and I do have such profound transformational experiences with this work, that if that's something that turns you off or that doesn't align for you because it's important for you to work with someone who's already a 7-figure business owner, cool. But I will tell you that I'm sharing this because there are so many people who are on this journey as well that I'm working with, that I keep having conversations with, and I want to help bring you all along with me, because I'm literally walking this path with you, and one day, for some of you in the future watching this, I will be on the other side of things, and it's possible at that point I will be a 6, 7, 8-figure earner, whatever it is that my path leads me to. That's another thing. I don't care where my path leads me for that. I used to care a whole lot that I was in fact a 6, 7, 8-figure earner. Like having that number was so important to me. And in this moment, I feel very rooted knowing that it doesn't matter for me. It doesn't matter because I know that I will be provided for, and I will, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter because I know that the impact is there, and I'm going to continue to show up and serve from the heart. I'm going to continue to show up and serve from the heart. Checking in to see if there's anything else about the money story that I want to share right now. I'm going to share a couple tools perspectives. One thing, I've got 3 things. One, in one of my very first Akashic record readings that I received as the client from someone else, I had asked a lot about financial abundance and how do I make it and where does it come from and what's wrong with me and where are my blocks. I asked those kind of questions. And one of the things that the record keeper shared at that time was, what if every time you talk about money, you use the word energy instead? So an example, I don't have enough money. I don't know where the money's going to come from. Replacing the word money with energy, you would say, I don't have enough energy. I don't know where the energy is going to come from. And it's just silly. It's silly. It's a way to help break you out of your pattern. That's one tool. Another tool is, and this really helped me from Amanda Merritt's retreat that I went to, is that I was like crying. I was crying, and I literally, to go to her retreat, I had put the investment on a credit card that did have interest, and I was super stressed out about it because I was like, but I knew it was the right decision to do. And of course, you're going to have to make the decisions that work for you. You don't have to do the ones that I chose. Some people are more into risk and some people aren't. Like, you're going to have to choose what's right for you. But I had put $5,000 on a credit card to go to her retreat on one that was going to collect interest. And like, even now, I'm like rolling my eyes like, but I knew it was the right thing to do. And actually, that retreat is a complete turning point for so many things in my life. So went to that, and I was like, really, I think I was like borderline in tears about money. And I'm like, God, I've just tried so hard. Like, what is wrong? Why is this not working? And one of the tools she gave me was, whenever I'm looking at my finances or anything related to money, is to be as matter of fact about those experiences as possible. Yes, there are bills to pay, things to take care of. There is a black and white thing from an adult standpoint to take care of. So take care of what you need to take care of, and then energetically like minimize the amount of energy and focus and attention you are putting onto that. Freaking out about it, stressing out about it, worrying about it, wondering if it's going to happen, all of those things. Because all I was doing was perpetuating and fueling the same cycle and bringing the same results over and over and over, which therefore lack of results, right? Over and over and over and over and over into my life. So I started practicing that. Another tool, and this one I really love, is to put your debt into a gift, into a package with a pretty bow on it. And that package, like knowing that the universe is going to take care of it, allowing the universe to carry that burden of that debt, and being open to all the possibilities and all the potential ways that it will be taken care of. Could be a check that arrives in the mail, could be someone who wants to invest in your business, it could be maybe the credit card companies write off your debt. I don't know. There are so many different ways that it can happen. And so being open to all those things, and it's packaged up in a gift, and the universe is taking care of it. Once again, another thing from Amanda Merritt. There was something else and I just lost it. Let me see if I can get the other tool for you. That tool must not be important to share here today, but I think those are some good tools to help you get started. I've shared a lot. It's possible that I do share like a part 2 to this, because just getting this out, maybe there are some deeper things that come up. Maybe maybe part 2 is like the next step going through this. I don't know, but I feel like there's a possibility for a part 2. I'm grateful that you're here with me, that you were able to hold space for this, that I feel you. I feel you if this is something that you have or are also going through. And know that I see you. And I believe and know that for myself and you, that this is going to work out. And I invite you to anchor in that as often as possible. If you would like help in that from a podcast perspective and you haven't already listened, then the last 2 episodes are 2 fabulous episodes that will help you with that. One of them is navigating self-trust and belief and faith, and I had that conversation with my husband, so there's a lot of great nuggets in there. And then last week's episode, the last episode, was me sharing basically a different version of what I shared with you today without the focus on money, without sharing the details about money. There are tools for you, and if you really want to anchor in trusting yourself and your intuition and shift your energy and shift the focus so you can align to a higher timeline, and you resonate with me, like, reach out, because I'm not stopping. I'm not turning back. I'm not quitting. I'm not giving up. I am doing this, and I am bringing you along with me. I want to see you have this grounded confidence and this beautiful connection with your intuition and yourself so that you can really experience things from a really joyful, expansive state. I would love to assist you on this journey. If the podcast is where we meet, I'll see you on the next episode. If there's other ways I can support you, I show up 2 times a month on YouTube, and I do free live mini readings. So you could always come there and ask a question, and we'll see what comes through from the record keepers. You could book one-on-one session with me, or we can also get into an integrative experience where I can help you go deeper into what this looks like for you and how you can really step into this even deeper. I am going to be running another group live experience for 7 weeks of magic, which is literally about trusting yourself and strengthening your intuition. It is so powerful. I just finished that, so that would be an option, a group experience. Or of course we have one-on-one. So, oh, this feels so good. This feels so good. Grateful you were here, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye.